Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the IFWL.net ACC GT3 PC Beginners Series 5 Race 4 here at Suzuka in Japan. Shout out to Pricey and Jojo Cola in the chat. Have to agree, we are in store for an exciting 40 minutes of GT3 sprint race action here at IFWL.net. Just a reminder that this stream is brought to you in association with Fanatec Motor Racing, Abruzzi Racewear, CD Keys, Positive Perception Liveries, G Portal, and our latest collaboration, Trophy AI driver coaching, real-time feedback on your driving while you're getting the laps in to shave those seconds off your lap times and see you move up the standings in your race results. So if you're interested in redeeming any of the offers that we have, please do check the affiliate links in the Discord. It does also help support the league, so it is win-win. You can save money on games and DLC, etc. through CD keys, and also you can get a discount on custom liveries, but we will dive into that in a little bit more detail shortly. So, while the drivers are getting their laps in, shout out to Christensen in the chat, we are just going to have a little rundown regarding tonight's track. So, here we are at Suzuka, Japan's Temple of Speed and Flow, built in 1962 and famed for its figure-of-8 layout, as you can see on the track map there. It has been an F1 title decider more than once. Think Senna versus Prost at the chicane in 89 and 90, if you're old enough to remember, Schumacher's era-defining wins, and Verstappen's recent surge. GT racing has its own lore here too, from the storied Summer Endurance series to today's GT3 era and the GT World Challenge Asia rounds. Now, for the numbers that matter, the official F1 race lap record is a 1:30.965, apparently set this year by Kimi Antonelli, and the outright F1 lap record in qualifying is Max Verstappen's 1:26.983 pole. In GT3 machinery, Suzuka's records page shows a 1:58.745 by K. Cozzolino in a Ferrari 488 GT3 in GT World Challenge Asia Pro-Am, and within Super GT's GT300 class, the benchmark is a 1:55.092 by João Paulo de Oliveira in a Nissan GTR Nismo GT3. So fasten your seatbelts, strap in, fast S-curves, a knife-edge Degner, and 130R at full commitment. Suzuka rewards rhythm, precision, and bravery, as our drivers will be finding out tonight. Now, if you are struggling to follow the cryptic code in the final part of that rundown, that is because those are some of the corner names here, for those unfamiliar. And with that in mind, with 13 minutes of practice left, let's take a look at a lap on board with one of our drivers. Number 10. So let's head over to Patrick Cyran for a lap at Suzuka. So heading down the pit straight into the imaginatively named first corner. I'm sure it sounds way cooler in Japanese. Now heading into undoubtedly my favourite part of the circuit, not the snake. If you take a look at the track map, you can easily figure out why it has got that name. Just gone round the anti-bank curb. Now heading through Dunlop into Degner. Tricky corner, manages to keep it within track limits, I believe, just there. As we head into the hairpin, for obvious reasons. Now we are into the 200R. Now we're taking on Spoon Curve. Is it going to be Big Spoon or Little Spoon for Mr. Siren, the McLaren 720? Heading along the back stretch. Shout out to Klutz with the spoon. Back on track tonight, no klutzing it please. And this is the famous 130R. Now we're into the chicane, which has a variation of the Casio triangle, but we don't have that feature tonight, and that was not a valid lap of Suzuka, but a lap all the less, so big thanks to Patrick Siren for taking us on a lap of Suzuka. Just going to take a look at the... well, we're not, because he's in the pits. So we're going to instead head over to our very own Dave Brown, who's sporting that lovely IFWL.net livery in the Joker colours, which has been specifically produced as a custom livery for Dave by Positive Perception Liveries. And if you're thinking, where can I get my hands on one of these, you will be able to, as a member of IFWL.net, get a discount actually on a Positive Perception livery. So check out the Discord link, and a custom livery such as the one Dave is sporting on that Aston could be yours. Currently fastest is long-standing IFWL.net driver John Sirac. Kimi Haimo not far behind, and Tomas Dani very close to Kimi Haimo. Sirac and Dani are just currently chilling in the pits, as Nathan Donnelly becomes the first driver to enter the 202 club. And welcome back to Nathan. Good to see you back on the standings. Just a quick rundown on the results from last week. So last week we were at Kyalami, and we had controller players first and second, which I think is a first as long as I can remember. So we had Tomas Dani in P1 and Mike Johnson, who we're going to head over to now, rocking the Ford Mustang, in P2. Sirac was P3 last week, so drivers to watch for there. And notable mention also to Chris King, who's also sat in the pits, who was last season's champion, and I believe he is giving himself a bit of a handicap this season and starting a little bit further back on the grid. Kyalami for me. Ah, very good. I see what you've done there. Hopefully we'll have none of that this evening. Although it is a difficult track, Suzuka. Even more so in the wet, but these drivers tonight are not having to contend with that. They've got ideal track conditions, optimum grip, as Mike Johnson just takes a little off-road adventure there. Let's head over also to take a look at Zach Martin, who's another driver to watch. Had a lot of pace in race 1 at Bathurst and had an unfortunate incident. But that is a track that is renowned for incidents. But just going back to the comparisons with Kyalami, we've got no forbidden sausage at Suzuka. But there are plenty of places to make mistakes and sacrifice that precious lap time and precious positions. So far we have 20 drivers who have joined us, lots of familiar names and a couple of new ones. We've got Vested Ice, who has a rather snazzy American livery, and I believe that is a Positive Perception livery, but we will find out shortly. I'm just looking. Yes, I think I spy on the edge of the wing the logo, perhaps. I could be mistaken, but either way, that is marvelous. And that was the commentator's curse striking again. Okay, so into the final 5 minutes of practice here. So we're going to jump over to William Elder. And he's McLovin it here at Suzuka. Third fastest, so showing some pace tonight. We've also got newcomer, I believe, Jay Bush in the McLaren 720, and if I am murdering the pronunciation, please do feel free to get in touch and let me know how it's done. And as for the remainder of the grid, I believe we've seen them all before, but we should have a showdown at Suzuka tonight. We're approaching the halfway mark in this beginners series. It's race 4 of 8 this evening. Coming up, Circuit of the Americas next week, followed by Indianapolis, then Watkins Glen. So triple header in the USA, and then we're over to Italy for what is one of the most popular tracks in motorsport, Monza. So that will be an explosive finale, and I expect thrills and spills at T1 in the coming weeks. Let's get back to tonight's session, and lots of drivers, as you can see through the horizontal standing, setting their fastest lap on the last lap. Klutz electing just to engage with the stream in the chat instead of getting some laps in, so that indicates confidence. No pressure, but I do want to see a 2:02 in qualifying. Yogma also yet to post a lap time. Let's jump over and take a look at Gaibo's lovely livery again from Positive Perception, the Golf inspired Beast Garage livery on that glorious Ferrari 296. Got 3 Ferraris in the field tonight, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 McLarens, a couple of Mercedes, a couple of Bimmers, a couple of Porsches, a couple of Astons, and there's just one driver representing the home turf manufacturers with the Lexus, and that is Kimi Haimo. Currently 7th fastest in practice, as Gaibo effortlessly executes that final chicane sequence and comes across the line. Improves on his time by almost 2 seconds as well, possibly a touch over. So he sees himself into the top 10 fastest drivers in this practice session as we enter the final 90 seconds imminently. Once the next session starts, the times will count. Right now the pressure is off, but as soon as we land in that qualifying session, these drivers will be wanting to get out on track ASAP. Shout out to Chrome and Jonak in the chat, and for the first time in a while, the PC and console are synced up on track. So we may have a few console drivers looking to see if they can get any last minute tips ahead of tonight's open track race, which is coming up next on the stream on console, hosted by Jackson Lambros. So stay tuned for that. It's 35 beginners slots, 15 pro-am slots, 1 race. So that will make for some exciting racing action. We just see a little bit of unfortunate contact there in practice. Best get it out of the way in practice and not in the race, guys. Okay, let's show Chris King, Series 4 champion, some love in that AMG GT3. Shout out to Dragon in the chat. That has to be Mike Johnson. Remember, do not stream and drive. All good during practice, but during the race, let's keep our eyes on the prize. P2 for Mike last week. So there is definitely potential for a top finish on the cards tonight. Okay. Well, that is our practice session over. I'm eagerly anticipating improvement on that time from Klutz. I know he's got more pace. Just sneaking a lap in there at the end. And then we have last week's winner, Tomas Dani, in the Larry Lamborghini livery, representing the controller players. Okay, we do still have Zach Martin and David Rigo out on track. And when they conclude their laps, we should get punted into qualifying. Okay. So I believe that's Zach Martin who has made it out of the pits first. Indeed, he has. So we will jump in the passenger seat for the outlap and await the start of his first hot lap. And hopefully he can keep it on track and post that first hot lap on the board to set the benchmark for the rest of the grid. And just a little reminder of today's race briefing for the drivers. We have a 40-minute race, 2 mandatory pit stops, tyre changes not required, but refueling is mandatory with a fixed time. So whether you splash and dash or fill up a little bit more, you will be in the pits for at least 25 seconds for your pit stop, plus pit entry and pit exit. And as a reminder, pit speed limits are not advisory, they are mandatory. And we do have the automatic in-game penalty system, whereby if you exceed the pit speed limit by just a touch, you'll likely just get a drive-through, a little bit more, stop go 30, and if you are speeding dangerously, you will be disqualified immediately. And we do also have live stewarding tonight, so stewards will be checking the logs for contact and taking appropriate action. Okay, we are just about ready for Zach Martin to start his hot lap here at Suzuka. Here we go. Shout out to Yuji Kusti in the chat. Welcome to IFWL here at Suzuka. We are just getting qualifying underway. We've got Zach Martin just putting in his first hot lap. We're just hoping that he stays on track. Let's just take a look at who's behind. It's none other than Nathan Donnelly. So no pressure for Zach, but Donnelly was one of the fastest drivers in practice. Now, just as a reminder, during qualifying, drivers are not to race each other. If you are on a valid lap, you have the right to complete that lap without interference or impeding from a car behind you, who may or may not be faster, interfering. So drivers need to make sure that they give each other enough space. Just take a quick look back there. Zach just about keeping it within track limits there at the spoon. So yeah, drivers need to make sure that they give enough space. Both Zach and Nathan have gone for the approach of getting out of the pits as quick as possible, as Zach Martin absolutely sends it through that fast corner. That was the 130R. We just wait for the first time to get posted. It will be swiftly followed up by another one from Nathan Donnelly, if both drivers have managed to keep it. And we've got a 202.9 from Zach Martin. Don't believe Nathan Donnelly managed to keep it within track limits. Followed by Dan Jones with a 205, Dave Brown with a 206, Tomas Danny 204. So we've got a top 4 times so far. Let's head over now to Dave Brown. Dan Jones even. So the positions changed literally as I click my mouse through race control there. So let's give Dan Jones a bit of love. Currently P5, as we see Mo Arshath with the 210 putting himself into, well, it was P7 maybe, but the times are now flying in. A few drivers just pushing track limits a little bit too far there. Those first laps, we're over halfway through qualifying now, and with the longer circuits such as Suzuka, and if you consider the out laps going to be a couple of minutes, there's not many opportunities to get a lap on the board. So whilst obviously you want to push, you also want to get a time on the board. So looking at the timings, Dan Jones is currently just over a second improved on his delta as we see him head down the back straight, and let's watch him send it into 130R. Full speed there. And get on the brakes for the chicane. Rotate that car through the first sequence, second. Back out and on the gas, ready to get down the pit straight. Only 1.2 seconds improved, so could see him up P4, 5. P4. Okay, let's head over to John Sirach as he just finished his lap. He's currently about 0.4 improved, which puts him in pole with a 202.6. Now, where is... And he sends it into the wall. Let's have a look at what happened there. Oh, he just decided he was done. Job well done. Job well done. Okay. Let's head over to Dave Brown. Currently P11. Definitely has some more pace in him. As the seconds tick down, he's got last week's winner, Tomas Dani, in the Lambo on his tail. Tomas Dani currently in P9. Currently 3 drivers in the 202 club. Fastest John Sirach with the 202.6, followed by Nathan Donnelly with a 202.810. Then Zach Martin with a 202.91. GT Crew's kicking off the 203 club as Dan heads down the backstretch. Sling it round at full tilt through the 130R. He's currently improved by around 0.6, and he's found a lot of time in that chicane. Over a second. So currently improving by around 2 seconds, which should see him fly up the grid. Around P7. No? Okay. Okay, let's see who's still getting the laps in. Klutz yet to post a time. He's out on track and rocking the Positive Perception IFWL livery, which can be yours as part of our gold tier Patreon subscription. Now, in addition to that, you also get access to a whole host of other benefits, including unlimited car setups as Klutz goes outside track limits there. That will not be a valid lap, and he's decided to call it a day. So let's head over to William Elder as he just gets a lap in, 204. Will he put another one in? Or will he call it a day? Let's jump on board. Find out. Now that we've jumped on board, I'm sure this will be him calling it a day. But no, it looks like he's not giving up. Right, back to the gold tier Patreon promotion. So as mentioned, if you join the gold tier Patreon, you will receive perks such as unlimited ACC car setups, IFWL fuel calculator, access to custom liveries such as the one on Klutz's Aston Martin, participation in race planning, and more. It really is the ultimate way to support IFWL and enhance your racing experience. And you can get 50% off your first month using code MACHO at checkout. Shout out to Mania Boo in the chat. It was an emotional one for me at Alton Park on Sunday. Had some pretty heavy contact with the wall twice. Completely my own fault. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And it looks like the remainder of the drivers have called it a day. So Chris King, Jogma, Haimo and Klutz will be starting at the rear of the grid here at Suzuka. So William Elder sends it hard through 130 yards, back on the brakes for the chicane. He's improved by over a second, so that should be a big improvement on grid time. And William Elder sees himself up in P3 as we get ready for this evening's sprint race at ifwl.net. We will be back in a couple of minutes while the drivers just get themselves sorted and we start the countdown for the race. So I will see you on the other side. Okay, we are back and we are just over a minute away from the start of this race here tonight at ifwl.net. And just a quick rundown on the grid. We have in P1 Nathan Donnelly, P2 John Sirac, followed by Elder, Martin, David Rigo, Jay Bush, GT Cruz, Mike Johnson, Dan Jones in P9, Guy Bow rounding off the top 10. Then we have Dave Brown, Tomas Danny, last week's winner, Patrick Siran, Vested Ice, Mike Murphy, Mo Arshath, King, Jogma, Haimo, and Klutz rounding off the grid. So Klutz is going to have a battle on his hands tonight, and it could all come down to pit strategy. We've just had the 10-second radio comms to the drivers, so they will shortly be getting underway, ready for the rolling start. It must maintain formation up until the green light. There's no contact until green here, and we will see these drivers roar down the pit straight towards first corner. Are we all ready for an explosive GT3 sprint race here? Explosive like a bazooka here at Suzuka. Let us know your predictions for the podium in the chat. Will we see John Sirac up on the podium? Will Klutz execute a pit strat to save this race, starting from the back as we wait for the green light here in Japan? It's so close I can smell it. And it's go, 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 go! Zach Martin immediately looking to make a move there. David Rigo in that Porsche moving up as we head into T1. John Sirac immediately establishing a gap. And just looking a little bit further back in the field, it looks like the majority of drivers have made it safely through T1. As we head into the snake, some of the drivers too wide there, a little bit further back. Can't help but feel that Nathan Donnelly is feeling like he's a little bit held up maybe there. Looking to get past. As we jump on board, you can see Sirac immediately feeling free of this conflict and just edging away. Taking that P1 in the opening lap here at Suzuka. Now let's just take a quick look at the log. We do have a little bit of contact at the start. Let's just take a little look at the replays here. Oh, and there's just a little bit of a bumper to bumper nudge there from GT Cruise, and another little tap there from Guybo and Johnson. And Dan Brown, little schnozzle up the inside there on Dan Jones, but all is well and good. So let's head back to the action, and we jump on board with William Elder. And you can see that train in front. Sirac just disappears around first corner. A bit too much slip angle there on the Porsche from David Rigo, which allows William Elder to close that gap. It's still all to play for. As William Elder just gives it a little bit too much gas there heading through the snake, and that's it. He's right off. That really has cost him. And he's got GT Cruise chasing him down. And you can see again a train of the cars behind. This is really close all the way back to P12. Then we've got a gap back to P13. William Elder runs a little bit wide there. And again, giving GT Cruise the initiative as David J. Bush, who the newcomer, tries to send it up the inside there. Maybe a little bit of a tap there from Johnson. If we head back to Dan Jones, who is at the back of this train there, you can see how close this race is. From P5 to 12. And there's some contact there. Guybo with a little bit of a spin. We'll take a look at the replay shortly. But he was not having a fun time there. Okay, let's take a look at that replay. Oh, it was of his own doing, and he just got collected there by Dan Brown. Sorry, Dave. Dave. And there's all sorts going on here. Let's rewind that. Patrick Syran run the chicane. Gaibo collects him a little bit there, and then again. Okay, not even sure where to go. Let's head over to David Rigo. So much action here. Shout out to Jambo Jackal, Trevor Mendez in the chat. Yes, tonight console and PC are synced at Suzuka. So this is what you have in store later this evening. It really has been a dramatic opening 5 minutes of this race. John Sirac undoubtedly the benefactor, as he has now almost a 4-second gap to Nathan Donnelly, who you can just see in front of Zach Martin in the Beamer as we ride on board with David Rigo. We've got P2, 3 and 4. These GT3 cars kicking up a little bit of dust as they take the inside of the spoon very tight. Just going to have a quick review of the log. We have had some more contacts. Let's switch over to the helicam as we approach the chicane. All the drivers executing that chicane with a good level of skill. But let's have a quick look at this replay. Now this was the contact that we saw earlier. So let's get back to the race. Okay, and now Gaibo sees himself 4 positions down in P14. Still over half an hour of racing left. Now let's head back over to David Rigo in that Porsche. Still hunting down Zach Martin. And he's having a look up the inside. But David Rigo shuts that move down. Sorry, Zach Martin shuts that move down. As they head through Degner and down towards the hairpin. David Rigo having a look around the outside. He's got the inside line now. Into the hairpin. Takes the position. David Rigo goes for the switcheroo. A little bit of contact. Sorry, Zach Martin in the Beamer went for the switcheroo. A little bit of contact. It's come off of that worse. And now he's himself got to deal with Zach Martin. As William Elder chasing him down. Let's have a look at the wing cam. He's now got William Elder and GT Cruz chasing him down. And I just realised I need to put on the pit info so that we can see who's pitted. There we go. Full data mode enabled. Now these trio of cars, David Rigo, Zach Martin, William Elder, still fighting for P3 as Sirac and Donnelly storm away. Sirac's gap to Donnelly is now down to 2 seconds. So we may have to head over and take a look at that. It's down to 1.2 seconds now. Less than a second. Let's head over to have a look at Nathan Donnelly chasing down John Sirac. I can't help but feel like maybe there's been some consistency issues there for Sirac in the AMG GT3. because that time has come down remarkably. Once again, heading towards the hairpin. Gap of 1 second still. As you can see, number of drivers electing for a early pit 1. As Kimi Haimo heads back out in the Lexus. But if we head over to take a look at the onboard cam of GT Cruise, you can see there William Elder, Zach Martin and David Rigo in front. And if Rigo and Martin are fighting each other, that's going to benefit William Elder and GT Cruise, and we can see them go side by side through that second turn of the chicane. So that BMW's a little bit traction there, and Rigo side by side with Zach Martin as they head towards first corner. Has the better line, takes the inside. Zach Martin goes wide, and both of them lose out to William Elder, who says arigato gozaimasu and takes that position, and he is McLovin that. Now GT Cruise on the bumper of David Rigo already, and as mentioned, he has benefited from this significantly. That gap has really come down now. William Elder, all he really needs to do is get his head down, establish that gap, stay out of trouble, and hope that these guys keep fighting to give him the opportunity to extend that gap. John Sirac still P1 with a gap of 1.1 seconds to Nathan Donnelly in the Ferrari 296. This train of 4 cars, all within 2 seconds of each other. After over 10 minutes of racing. Will any of these drivers take an early pit, or will they want to continue this battle as long as they can? I'm hoping they stay out, because this is fantastic racing that we have tonight here at Suzuka. Just going to head over to Rigo. And William Elder there, losing a bit of time to Zach Martin. So it's BMW versus BMW. Zach Martin making the most of that slipstream there as we come down towards the first corner. Taking a look at up the inside. Has a better line. Side by side coming out the exit of that first corner. A little bit of contact there, but Zach Martin takes P3 back. And now William Elder is going to have to fight with David Rigo shortly, who himself has GT Cruise on his bumper. Excuse me, quick hydration break for the commentator there, as we see this train of 4 cars just head through that corner in perfect symmetry. Once more through the hairpin. Can William Elder bridge this gap to Martin, who has clean air in front of him? That gap between Sirac and Donnelly still hovering steady around the 1 second mark. So we head into the wing cam of Zach Martin for the Over Limit Racing team. There we go, I've learn what OLR stands for. You could see the McDonald's livery of William Elder's BMW chasing him down as they head through 130R into the chicane complex once more. And this seems to have been a spot where one of the drivers makes an error, another driver capitalises on it. We get a bit of contact, as we just see in the background there, GT Cruise electing to get that pit stop in. Nathan Donnelly also in the pits, so Zach Martin finds himself up in second as he goes into that corner too hot, and William Elder takes that position back. Martin slots back in, but has to deal with Rigo in the Porsche behind him. Chomping at the bit to get past now. No mandatory tyre change this evening, but will the drivers elect to take the 5 seconds extra time in the pits to get that extra grip? That is the question as we jump on board with David Rigo as he chases down Zach Martin. It's now fight for P3. John Sirac with the fastest lap of 202.402. And you drive. Oh, Dan Jones also with the 202, and Nathan Donnelly. 3 drivers in the 202 club in the race. Now David Rigo will be thinking that he can capitalise on any conflict or contact between the 2 drivers in front. Speaking of which, let's take a look at the log. We've got a few more contacts to maybe have a little look at. Let's stick with the action for now. Can't help but feel like these drivers are going to be tempted to take that right-hand turn after the chicane complex into the pits. Especially with Zach Martin seemingly losing a bit of grip there. And yes, Zach Martin and Rigo head into the pits. So let's take a look at some of the contact. That's the contact that we've seen. So this is Dave Brown and Mike Johnson. No contact, just a false report. It's John Sirac now also in the pits, meaning William Elder is out there in P1. Still has to pit. 2 mandatory pit stops tonight. Only 23 minutes, just shy of 23 minutes of the race remaining. Could be a little bit longer, depending on how the countdown closes as the leader crosses that line. Okay. Let's just head over to Chris King, who is chasing down newcomer Jay Bush in the McLaren, who's gone a little bit wide there through 130R as they head into the Casio chicane. Chris King took a very early pit, lap 4. Currently P12. Seven positions better off, but the biggest winner overall so far is Kimi Haimo, who's currently 11 places improved after failing to post qualifying time. He's currently sitting pretty in P8 in the Lexus. So let's show them some love, representing Japan. Well, I believe the driver is from Finland, but the machine is from Japan. So you see the Larry Lamborghini of Tomas Dani in the foreground there. Not the most popular car on ACC, but if you can drive it, it certainly is fast. Currently been experimenting a little with the Nissan GTR GT3. Again, bit of an odd one to drive, especially coming from the Ferrari 296, but enjoyable nonetheless, and it does sound awesome. Chris King just still got a gap of around half a second to Jay Bush. So let's head back over and see. William Elder is staying out, enjoying leading the race, clearly. He's going to be having to do 2 pits in less than 20 minutes. So we see him catching up to the back of Nathan Donnelly. As Chris King and David Rigo enter the pits, and we've got a car just parked up on the side there. Not parked there, mate. William Elder electing to stay out. Got a 51-second gap back to John Sirach in P2. GT Cruise has found himself up to P3 with an 11-second gap to Sirach. Followed by Zach Martin, 2.7 seconds away. Zach Martin goes a little bit off track. Let's have a look. This replay. Oh, all looks in order. It's erroneous ACC control alert there. Okay, let's head over to Nathan Donnelly, as he has Patrick Syran in his sights. And should make this catch relatively quickly. So we head into the Casio chicane once again. And there we go. Up the inside at the last curve. Side by side. Heading into the first corner, but Donnelly has the inside line. But brakes sooner than Syran. Unable to make that move stick. Now he's going to be looking to get past as quickly as possible. Takes a little look up the inside there as we jump on board. Oh, not sure if there's a little bit of contact there, or I think not. Donnelly playing on a controller, I believe. He looks to the inside there. Believe that looked like a little bit of contact. Let's check the log. No, all good. William Elder finally deciding to take that pit stop last lap. He's now come back out into P5. But now we've got Zach Martin chasing down GT Cruise for P2. Zach Martin for Over Limit Racing in the BMW. Chasing down the Ferrari 296 of GT Cruise for P2. Right now as they pin it down towards the hairpin after exiting Degner. He's going to make a move up the inside here. GT Cruise braking a little bit late, a little bit of contact there, but seem to have both come out of that unscathed. Zach Martin executing a successful overtake to take P2. The Ferrari 296 of GT Cruise is not wanting to go anywhere. So we jump on board. And I believe we've had a little bit of contact there between Nathan Donnelly and Patrick Syran. So let's just head over and check that out. So we're looking at the replay here. Just coming out of the snakes. Yep, just a little bit of a nudge there, and Syran off track and into the wall. That is unfortunate. John Sirac taking his second pit stop now, which puts Zach Martin up into the lead. And now Nathan Donnelly has David Rigo hot on his heels. That gap just stretching out to almost a second now. It's that Ferrari of Nathan Donnelly a little bit unsettled. We've got a 5-second penalty for car number 20 for that contact. It's our live stewarding being applied. Let's jump over to the McDonald's BMW of William Elder as he chases down the Ford Mustang muscle car of Mike Johnson. He's hot on his bumper there as we head out of the spoon down the backstretch, ready to send it into 130R. He's not going to have a look on the inside here, is he? This could be a very dangerous manoeuvre. Balls to the wall, he pulls it off, gets past before they head into that Casio chicane complex. So hats off to William Elder on that pass. Zach Martin taking his second pit right now, which puts GT Cruise up into P1 for now. Just heading back down the timings board. Let's head over to John Sirac, who is, I believe, now on his out lap. Yeah, now this is his out lap after that pit stop, second pit stop. So he's got Zach Martin and Kimi Haimo currently in the pits. Is he going to come out in front? He should do. Looking at the times. So this should see him up into P4, and yes, it does. He's got a 40-second gap to Mike Johnson. All three cars in front yet to pit, so barring any errors, Siraj could well be on that top step on the podium here tonight as we look at the countdown and see that we are approaching the 10-minute mark here at Suzuka. We've got Klutz, Vested, Ice, Nathan Donnelly all in the pits right now. Tomas Dani, in fact, chasing down Kimi Haimo. So it's Lexus versus Lamborghini. Let's just take a look at the angle from the wing cam of Kimi Haimo as they head into the hairpin. Danny has a little look up the inside, a little bit later on the brakes. Within half a second now as they head into the spoon. That gap stretches back out. So we jump on board with Tomas Dani into 130R again, keeping it pinned into the Casio chicane, riding those curbs, closing that gap to the Lexus. Will we see a send down the inside of first corner? As we see Mike Johnson exit the pits there. And this could be an interesting battle. We can see the fight between Haimo and Danny from the wing cam of Johnson's Mustang. Now, if he can keep this consistent and get away the fight between the drivers behind, may well benefit Johnson, who's currently P6, 2 positions improved, has done both of his pit stops. As GT Cruz enters the pits for his second stop, which puts William Elder up into first. Still got one stop left to serve. Let's jump on board with Kimi Haimo, who is now sandwiched between Mike Johnson and Tomas Dani. As we head through the spoon, it could again be all down to that Casio chicane. 88 drive through for track limits. That is Mo Arshath back in P19. Mike Johnson stretches that gap out to Kimi Haimo. GT Cruz comes out of the pits back out into P5. Okay, let's have a quick look back at the log. As we head towards the last 5 minutes of the race, William Elder getting that second pit stop in. Let's head over to John Sirach. See where he comes out relative to Elder. Has Elder done enough? Seconds are ticking by on that pit timer. Okay, John Sirach retakes P1. Zach Martin finds himself back into P2. William Elder back out on track with a relatively quick pit stop there. Going back out into P4, but immediately he has to deal with the Ferrari 296 GT Cruise in his rearview mirror. Gap of around a second. John Sirach with a healthy 7.9 to 8 second gap to Zach Martin, who has around 5 seconds to Rigo and then 3 seconds to Elder. This gap to the Ferrari behind that we can see around the 1 second mark. Meanwhile, Kimi Haimo has escaped the clutches of Tomas Dani for now. Still got 3.5 minutes of racing left, which we probably have another 2 complete laps after this one, based on some quick maths. Let's head over and give some love to Dave Brown in the Aston. One place down from where they qualified. And let's take a little look at our very own Klutz D&B. Okay. So we're now on board with the leader of the race, John Sirach, in the AMG GT3 Mercedes. As we head around the spoon, not for the last time, we will have another lap. Another opportunity for drivers to try and close some gaps. Though looking at the timings, it's all rather spread out. Closest gap being between Tomas Dani and Kimi Haimo right now. But still, opportunity to close those gaps, opportunity for drivers to make a mistake, as we have seen previously. It's that countdown ticks under 1 minute. Confirmation leader is on the final lap. We will spend the remainder of the race with John Sirach. And I do hope that the commentator's curse does not strike this evening, because it would bring me a lot of pleasure to see Sirach bring it home for the win tonight here at Suzuka. Pushing the track limits a little bit there, but all well and good. As Sirach makes his way through 200R towards the spoon for the last time. And it's Sirach who is the big spoon this evening at Suzuka. Down the back stretch, ready to send it through 130R for the last time, and let's jump on board. See and feel the speed there. Through the Casio chicane. And Sirach crosses the line to win here at Suzuka. Congratulations to our winner. Let's head over to see Zach Martin take P2, David Rigo P3, William Elder is McLovin it in 4th, GT Cruise P5, IFWL's very own Mike Johnson P6, Kimi Haimo in the Lexus P7, Tomastani, oh come on, Tomastani P8, Dan Jones P9, Jay Bush, the newcomer, rounds out the top 10. We've then got Chris King P11, our very own Dave Brown P12. Yogma in the Porsche P13, and then a warm welcome back to Nathan Donnelly, who takes P14. Patrick Siren, who's already finished, P15. Vested Ice in the resplendent Stars and Stripes livery, 16. Our very own Klutz rounding off the final Casio chicane sequence and down the pit straight to take P18. Mike Murphy P9, P18, P19, and Mo Arshath P20. And if you missed it, unfortunately, we've been informed that the open track tonight is cancelled. Apologies, it's out of our hands. I expect that's some sort of technical issue. So yeah, there will not be a stream for that. But just want to take this opportunity to thank you all for tuning in. See you next week, where we will be at the Circuit of the Americas for the first race in our USA triple header in the IFWL.net ACC GT3 PC Beginner Series 5. Thanks all for watching. See you next time.